Ideas are good.
Venom trailer for the new Venom movie a couple months ago.
Okay, what were your ideas? What should we do?
Go home. Oh.
No, bad idea.
Saucy pants. Tell her she knows I'm kidding.
I defined something called
I honestly
Loop, a function?
Yeah.
Let's make a function to loop. I think that's a great idea. Let's do it. Yeah, the Zoom is back on. So I'm going to make this function, help me, named loop. And in our loop then, we could actually do our while thing. So let's create a variable and what do we call that thing whenever we are using a value to end a loop? What's that special word? What's that special word? Sentinel. We'll name our variable that, make you remember it. So our sentinel is going to be X. End the loop. Means it's a special thing we're asking for them to enter when they're done. It's our sentinel. It's watching our loop and to end. Okay, so let's say we also want a user voice. And I'm going to make it be blank, just a space to start. And then in my while loop, I'm going to be kind of sneaky. We've used a lot of for loops. We haven't used a lot of while loops. But for this one, a while loop is just what we need, because we can say while our user choice is not equal that sentinel value, we want to keep looping.
Sentinel always sounds so.
It's the guard.
Yeah, but it always sounds like it should be in a mythical thing or sci-fi.
It's in this mythical loop.
Are you going into like the way of like another input where it's like you want to continue doing family members? Or
Sort of, but not exactly.
I think that's what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I just had it like when it prompted me to ask for somebody's name. If you type in stock, it would just stop. That's why I tried to keep it.
Didn't work though. So I think I want to move my array definition to my loop. I'm just going to cut that variable and put it in my loop. Mess everything all up. And then before I go into my while loop, I'm noticing that we have a problem here. Our get input prints out all these dashes in this family list thing. So I can't just keep calling it, can I? It's kind of messed up because it would print out all of these dashes each time and ask them for another family member. So I need to split that up. Let's create a function called our welcome. And in our welcome, we'll print out these hyphens. Oops. I don't know how I did that. One of these days I'm going to figure it out in this wonderful code thing.
Have you ever been tired while you were coding and like you had an assignment in school and like you were kind of sleeping and when you snap back into it, you're like almost your entire program was coded and you have no idea how you did it?
Nope, never have done that. I've done that driving, but not coding. Not coding. Not coding. Not coding. Okay, so we need to update our prompt. Instead of just saying name a family member, let's do name a family member X to end. How's that?
Oh, it sounds fancy.
Fancy smancy.
Oh, I see. I get it now. That's My life is falling apart.
Okay, then I'm going to do kind of a weird thing, but hang with me here. I'm going to call our get input function before our while statement the first time. And we want to use our user choice variable to hold whatever the user inputs. That's what we set up that variable for. So before my read loop begins, I'm going to get their first input. Now, why would I do that? Well, if they do an X the very first time, we're not ever going to go into our loop, right? So this will let us catch that very first X if they type it in without doing a bunch of weird if statements or something within our read loop. We'll be able to catch it. Okay, but if they don't enter an X, then we want to save the name they entered. So we want to family dot append our user choice. And then we need to ask them for a new one. So user choice equals get input again. Now that's all we need in our loop, because since we did our first read here, if they want to stop, they never want to enter a name, they can type an X and we won't even go into the loop. If they type a name, we'll add it to the array, then we'll ask them for another one. Then we'll go back to our while loop again. So again, if they type an X, we'll just end our loop. If they type another name, we'll add it into our array and ask them for another one. We'll just keep asking them for another name until they finally enter that X, and then we'll fall out of our loop and be all done with our loop. So after we've got our loop all done, we can print this thing, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. I want to fix up our main first and do a little testing, and then we'll do our output. So let me get rid of these leftover things that are causing us trouble, because I moved my family array. And now in my main, the first thing I want to do is the welcome. So I'm going to call our new welcome function. Whoops, no colon. And then I'm going to call our loop. Now I need to put in our call to our main. Oh, I had it down there. I was like, how was that thing working before? Okay, there it is. All right, so now we should have a nice loop. Let's try it. Find my output here. Okay, so here's my pretty loop. Now, first try entering an X, very first thing. It should just end and not give you any trouble, not crash or anything, not ask you any other dumb questions. Okay, so that works. So let's run it again. And now I want to type in a name. I'll do my brother. Oh, now it's asking me for another. I'll do my sister, my other sister. Oops, I got caps lock on somehow.
Yeah, I'd be upset if I was Randy too. Robin and Renee got such pretty cute little girl names.
And yeah, Randy. Now, because that's my last one, I could do my parents and stuff too, but I'm ready. So I'll type in my X to end.
I wanted to do a girl who had a younger sister named Robin.
Uh-huh.
Her name was BJ, and then she had another sibling, and her name was Cardinal.
Oh, see, now that was a theme family also, huh?
Her mom's name was Doug. They decided
Oh. Yeah, let's print our whole family. And
I got a big family.
what's the matter?
I got a big family to do.
Oh, well, you You can pretend. You don't have to put them all in. Just do your favorites.
Oh,
Okay, so after our while loop, I want to outdent because I don't want this to be part of our while loop. Alex says we should print our family array, which is a really good idea. And this is just a debugging output for us to see what all we have in that array. Since we don't have our output function built yet, it's a really good idea for us to print that thing and make sure it's getting loaded properly. So let's try running it. Put in some family people. Oops. Put your cursor down in the right place. X. And I've got to scroll up a little bit. But I should see, after I put in the X, now I've got everybody, whoop, there they went, in the array. They're in there. Did you guys do that in high school? Did you do that over your business teachers smarter? When we first got smart boards, the business teachers would bring up the keyboard on screen when they were logging in. And so a bunch of my students were like, you should tell the business teachers we can all see what they type in for their passwords on that big keyboard. So I don't know. I think business teachers figured that out, that they should log in on their computers and then bring up the giant keyboard.
My computer teacher in high school, he had a wireless keyboard, and he would just walk around the class with a wireless keyboard and use it.
Oh, that's nice.
I
Liked
had
it
a
that way.
teacher in 7th grade,
Uh-huh.
8th grade, because it was typing. He was stand-in for our typing teacher, and he was like 90. And he went onto the board and realized that it was, you know, just up there, and he typed in his password like 8 different times for 8 different accounts. It was the same, and some kids caused that absolute heck.
I bet. Yep, it's hard. High school students are mean.
Golly, aren't they?
They did something to change all the pictures in the database for the next year's ID when it prints to be clowns.
Oh no, that's
So
awful.
everyone had an ID with like clown hair all over and stuff. It was actually kind of funny.
That's great. Okay, so we printed out our array. We have 10 minutes. We should be able to do our output function here. And I want it to be a function. I could real easy just put it in our loop, right? Because we're already there and we could print everything out, but that wouldn't help us very much. So let me get rid of this print statement. Now I could comment it out or delete it, either one. Sometimes we like to just comment those debugging lines of code out so they're still there and we can use them later real easy. So in our main loop, we're going to need to get access to that family array. So I think at the end of our read loop, we should return our family array.
Is that the one we were just on?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. So right after your while is done, put in return family. And now in our main, when we call our loop, we need to save that returned array. So let's put fam equals whatever we got back from our loop. Now again, it's because we didn't make that a global variable, right? Our family array was just a local variable, so we only had access to it in our loop function. By returning it, now we have access to it in our main function too. So let's create an output function. And in our output function, we want to get that family array passed to us. So I can call it something different every single time.
Fam array, instant family.
It's a different family. And then let's print out, print your, whoops, I got caps lock on them again. Your family. And then for each member in fam array, we want to print that member.
When I was a kid, I thought female stood for guy mail, and I thought that so for girls there had to be an F male. Get it?
Now, I didn't call my output yet. Where am I going to call it? From my main. So right after I call my loop, I'm going to call output, and I'm going to send it my fam array. So I'll put a couple comments in here. Get the family array from our loop. And then in our output, we're going to send, or export is what I should say, right? Export the family array to output function. There, that's a little better. We can see it all. Keeps jumping around using .NET code. Now let's see if it'll work. We should be good. So our main is going to start. We're going to run our welcome function that's just going to print out those welcome messages. Then we're going to go into our loop. In our loop, we're going to keep asking for family members until they type in the X, the sentinel value. And then we're going to return that whole list of family members to our main.
Saying fam is unusual. And that fam array is not fine.
We'll make sure you're setting it as output from your loop.
Oh,
Do you see it?
initially for output, I think you said fam array.
Oh, that's what I put, that's what I called it when I passed it to the output method. So I called it 3 different things. In the main, I called it fam. In our output function, I called it fam array. And in our loop function, we called it family. It's all the same array that we're passing around. We just called it all those different names. So on this one, you might want to print it out. I'm going to run this and see if it works. Okay, this one's kind of complicated. So first I'm getting my welcome message and then my name of family member. So I'll put a name in, another family member, and then I'll do the X. Now when I X out, it's going to be done with my loop function, and it's going to return that family array to my main. My main then is going to use that family array to call our output. And here's our output, your family, and all of your listed items. Now, if you don't have a printer at home, you could print that out here before you go.
This fam array one?
Yeah, I would print out this code. And then you can take it with you and mark it up and try to really get a visual in your head of what's going on with each line of code. This is probably the most complicated one we've done.
Oh, how would I print it?
You should just be able to do file. Do you have to, what if you do Control P? Let's see what it prints.
Would you be able to download that on?
Oh, yeah, yeah. What about the snip tool?
Yeah, you could use the snipping tool. And yeah, you could download it to flash drive or whatever you wanted to.
I got behind on the typing. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I will.
Download it. Thank you.
No problem.
I really appreciate it.
I wish I could drag and drop.
You take the
Not a problem, and he's keeping us up to date too. I think Logan already got the other one. He's on it.
Yeah, I can't do this one though, because I did it differently.
Did you do it different? I got it. Not a problem. Did that work? I don't know. I guess that code doesn't have a print. A little dark. But it did it. Okay.
Yeah. I don't either.
Sure. Trying to figure out where my stuff is.